7 Fallow Friday series. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Tracy Hazel from Advanced Training and Consulting. Advanced Training and Consulting offers a wide range of health and safety services with the necessary tools and expertise to keep employees safe on the job. They partner with clients from start to finish, focusing on their needs while producing new ideas, developing effective strategies, and designing high-quality health and safety solutions. That is a mouthful. So, Tracy, thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this opportunity to be here this morning and talking with you.
So let's just start with kind of an overview of maybe the types of trainings that you offer and who you typically work with on those trainings.
Well, that's a loaded question. Like you mentioned, a mouthful on the website. What I do is I'm an OSHA outreach instructor. So what that means is I am authorized to teach safety-related courses on behalf of the Department of Labor and Federal OSHA. And I'm authorized to do this for two industries, for the construction industry and for general industry. And when we look at, what are those industries? Construction industry is those employees, those employment opportunities where people are doing painting, decorating, what we typically think of construction, new construction, demolition, that sort of thing. So I teach for that group of individuals. And then general industry is more of your manufacturing. It's basically everything other than construction. So warehouses, automotive manufacturing, that sort of thing. So,
okay. What would you say is maybe the most commonly requested training?
I would definitely say the meat and potatoes with the CPR first aid. I get a lot of requests for that topic. It is a requirement under some of the Code of Federal Regulations for both of the industries that I mentioned. In the absence of having a medical infirmary or plant nurse, a construction company, for example, has to have at least one person trained on the job. So as you see, and as you know, there's a lot of construction companies out there, as well as manufacturing here in Michigan. So that's a common request from daycare providers, those that have a license with the state of Michigan. There's also facets of that training like bloodborne pathogens. Here in the state of Michigan, all tattoo artists are required to have bloodborne pathogens training. So that's a big one. And then next to that, I would say my niche is in confined space or confined space training, which is, if you don't really know what that is, then that's probably sounds a little strange to mention that particular topic. But and then the OSHA 10 and OSHA 30 certificates. Those are the 10-hour safety courses or the 30-hour safety courses designed for either construction or general industry.
Okay. Did I see something recently that you do babysitter training?
I'm going to tell you right now, Katrina, that class from, I don't know when they created that program, 1970 or something, but that program is solid. Yes, I do teach babysitter training. I've developed a curriculum called Home Alone Safety. It's based off the babysitter program, the babysitter certification program, but I put my own spin to it where I teach those children in the Home Alone program how to use a fire extinguisher. We talk about tricky people and safe strangers and good leadership, decision making while being, home alone. So that course has really taken off. But the babysitter program is dear to my heart. I find that when I post an opening for open enrollment for that course, that it fills rather quickly because we cover, of course, those topics I spoke about with a home alone, but also how to care for, how to diaper, how to bottle feed. And then I also add in there the CPR components,
Mm-hmm.
conscious choking. You hear about all the time, adolescents or school age children helping their friends at the lunch, when they were
Mm-hmm.
choking. And these are just basic skills that we can use every day, whether it's when they're a child or if it's something that they remembered from that babysitting class and they can
Right.
apply it as an adult. These are skills that I believe that everyone should have.
Absolutely. I don't remember ever doing babysitter training when I was younger. I don't remember babysitting a lot, but I just don't remember that it was a thing. And I think it really is a very important opportunity. Um, I would want somebody watching my kids that has had some type of training.
Well, listen, it actually allows me to talk to the youth about creating your own business and what is the safe way to market your business as a
Hmm.
juvenile. And you know, sometimes children are best entrepreneurial. They have these minds and these ideas that are great without barriers.
Hmm.
And in that class, in the babysitting class, I actually have them create a flyer, marketing their babysitting business. I have them think about, you are certified, you are trained. Uh,
Hmm.
in my opinion, and what I express to those students is that you should be charging more
Hmm.
for your services and your
Right.
skills. Like you said, as a parent, we would want someone who would know what to do in the
Hmm.
event of an emergency. So it's a
Right.
win-win for everybody, the mom, the dad, or the guardian, leaving the
Hmm.
child. The child also, I think, has a better experience with a certified babysitter,
Yeah.
because there's maybe planned activities
Hmm.
or, yeah. So,
I
yeah,
think that's a great little extra thing that you add in there about how they can kind of put themselves out there and market their business. I know that it's not babysitting related, but our oldest wants to start mowing lawns, and we're thinking, well,
yeah,
you're gonna have to start going door to door or something, or put something together and show that you can do this. So yeah.
absolutely. And with the dangers with online marketing, social media, with juveniles,
Mhm.
we really need to think outside of the box. What is the best way or the safe way for them to market their business?
Right.
And, it always starts with the parents or guardians,
Hmm.
friends and family. I recommend that first. In this
Hmm.
case, with the babysitter training, being a mother's helper, for
Yeah.
example, that would just, they can gain some experience, but with
Hmm.
an adult present also to help make those decisions. So yeah, there's a lot to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you're doing these training programs, are these programs that are already created, or do you like that you created or that someone else created, or do you go into organizations and maybe help them improve on a program they already have in place?
Well, it's a mix.
Okay.
It's a fine mix between both worlds. I do develop my own programs, like the Home Alone
Hmm.
safety training for youth. Um, there's a lot of different programs. For example, I'm an American Red Cross instructor,
Okay.
and um, really just to put a plug in for that organization, they make it so easy to become a CPR first aid, babysitter, wilderness first aid, professional rescuer instructor. They just make it so easy for people to do that with the way that they lay out their instructor manual and the media and everything that they provide that support. So
Okay.
that would be an example of a pre-made presentation that you really follow a very scripted lesson plan.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for the Red Cross for that because it's easy.
Right.
Now, other programs that I teach, they say these are the required topics
Okay.
And here is some PowerPoints or some training access to kind of develop it to make it your own. So whatever you do in that time frame, whether it's 10 hours, 30 hours, or 40-hour class, these are the things you have to cover. And these are some electives. So there's some room in there to kind of make it your own. And also gear it towards the employer's needs. You know,
Right.
what do they do? What are their main hazards? And those are the areas then that we would modify the instruction towards their work.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do you have a favorite training that you like to offer?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I'm not sure that I've really been asked that question a whole lot. Let me see here. I think I do. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the CPR and the first aid components. And I think the reason why I answer it that way is because I'm so incredibly passionate about the need for people to know CPR,
Right.
uh, the need to have access to AEDs in public defibrillation. If folks just had an opportunity to talk about these topics in a training environment
Mm-hmm.
before something happens, before an emergency occurs, then more lives would be saved. I mean,
Right.
just hands down, simply put, when you practice, you train, you communicate what the plan is during an emergency. When something actually goes down, people are equipped, they're prepared, they're more confident.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but let's get into the human nature of that topic. 1 in 3 people die approximately from heart disease in the
Mm.
United States. Nearly 1 million people lose their lives this way. I don't tell a lot of people this, but I actually lost my stepdad to a sudden cardiac arrest a couple years ago. And I'll tell you, it was absolutely devastating. I felt like I've been teaching this since the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't have someone trained or equipped enough to recognize maybe something was wrong,
Right.
or respond in a way that, like every minute matters. And, there's a lot to this. So I couldn't get through a class without crying for
Mm-hmm.
probably 6 months. Well,
Mm.
first I didn't teach it for almost 6 months. And then when I started teaching it, I would have to stand in the back of the classroom. A lot of the pictures that you see me post on social media, my website, you'll see it from the back of the room. And quite honestly, there's sections of those videos that even today, I mean, I just had the anniversary of his death, and I was actually teaching a CPR first aid class that day. And it's I do it to create an income and to provide for my family,
Right.
but it's a really it's a tough topic. And it's safe to say that many lives have been touched by cardiac disease. And
Mhm.
if there's something I can do for someone to either recognize in themselves that they're having a heart attack, which I've had students come to me and say, hey, I didn't know that jaw pain
Mhm.
could be a sign or symptom of heart disease. I got it checked out. I was having an active heart attack. I have
Wow.
actually heard that from students. So,
Mm.
or I've had students too that come to me and say, I tried CPR. I tried everything I could do. The person was sitting in a chair. I felt like I spent too much time trying to get them to the floor. And, just kind of that debriefing after a major incident that someone's been involved with. So I
Mm.
don't say that part of it's rewarding, but just having the opportunity to talk it out with someone
Right.
maybe who has experienced that.
Yeah. Do you feel like, oh, well, first, maybe not that question. Are there opportunities if I just wanted to learn CPR? I'm not, I'm employed by myself, but is that something that you recommend? And are there opportunities for that?
You see the smile. Look, I'm gonna settle in. All right, I'm gonna settle in. And I'm not gonna try to make this too sales pitchy because it's not about
Okay.
you can do it completely free. There's a lot of resources, a lot of access to media.
Mhm.
There's American Red Cross has an app that you can download on almost any smartphone or device, and you can play games and you can read, all their training material also is available electronically
Mhm.
online. So if you go to americanredcross.org, you can read their full manuals. I mean, if you want to know about wilderness first aid or how to set, dislocation or something like that
Mm.
out in the wilderness,
Right.
you can do a lot of this research yourself. But let's go from there. So a lot of the stuff is free and there's a lot of access to it. Next, there's non-certification courses that you can do online where you can watch video, watch presentations, see examples. You can even click the button and do the pace of how often you need to compress a victim's chest. It's
Interesting.
that detailed,
Okay.
completely free. Next, you can do a hybrid, which is called like a blended learning program, where you can take all that online training and then you meet with an authorized instructor like myself,
Mhm.
and you do a quick, I don't want to call it quick, but a skill session that doesn't take very long. It's just show
Okay.
me your skills. Show me what
Okay.
you've already learned. The attempt is to no reteach. Don't reteach the program,
Right.
the short skill session. So that's called blended learning. You can get certified that way, and it does meet the Title 29 CFR Code of Federal Regulations requirements and accreditations to be certified for
Okay.
licensing degree, for new teachers here in Michigan that require it, and the others. So that way it's called blended learning. Next, you can take a full class. You can take a full class at any open enrollment class anywhere in the city.
Mhm.
Uh, there's plenty of places to take those. I offer open enrollment classes throughout
Okay.
Michigan. Um, and then the next option is you can actually schedule a class for you, your friends, your coworkers, your Girl Scout groups, your
Mhm.
bowling leagues, your community centers, and have someone such as myself come in and do what we call a contract class. It's a group business class, and uh, you just bring the people and I bring the stuff, and
Okay.
we get certified. There's lots of opportunities for that. And
Okay.
if someone just wants to know about how to use an AED, for example, how easy and simple it is,
Mhm.
I'm not opposed to scheduling an hour meet and greet at a community center to show people how to use an AED.
Mhm.
Let's just do it.
Okay.
And I'm not looking to get paid for that stuff. I think that the long-term investment on
Right.
teaching people how easy it is to use these devices would pay off in the long run.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm thinking that my husband and I lead the Kids Kingdom ministry at church. And so I'm thinking that maybe that would be a good thing, have you come in and teach all of our teachers and our nursery staff that.
Yep.
I feel
And
like that would be
and
great.
and that's another group that I'm often involved with. So I do a lot of daycares and
Mhm.
community church organization presentations and things like that. So it can get real technical, and it can be for the professional rescuer, or it can be for
Mhm.
the home alone for the
Yep.
first time adolescent. So there's a lot of room, to cater it really to what your needs are.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I was really kind of intrigued by on your website, and you mentioned it a little bit already, but the situational awareness escape plan. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Oh. So another one of those topics, you say, what are your favorite topics, I guess, to teach? And I don't want to say that talking about workplace violence, active shooter training is my favorite thing to talk about. Let's just be
Hmm.
clear about that,
Right.
because it's very disturbing,
Hmm.
and the statistics, the trends, the information is
Hmm.
very disturbing. And unfortunately, the increased nature of that topic is drawing the demands
Yeah.
for us to have those conversations. So when we talk about situational awareness, and we think about these emergencies that, um, I mean, that's what it is. It just happens out of the blue without
Right.
warning, and then now I'm in this situation. Uh, when we talk about active shooter, when we talk about workplace violence, we're always focused on situational awareness. And what that means, in short, is that we're constantly aware of our surroundings.
Hmm.
When we enter in a building, we know how to get out. Or when we sit down at a restaurant, we take a couple few seconds and we understand where we are in that
Hmm.
building. Are we on the second floor? Do we need to go down the stairs? Is there two access, points to the area where I'm at? Um, Now you might think, well, wait, that seems like hyper paranoid, or I don't want to be afraid, to
Right.
go into community buildings and centers. And it's not about that. Once you've trained your mind to get conditioned to say, I'm walking into this building, there's the AED, there's a fire extinguisher, it almost becomes second nature. And in an emergency, whether we're teaching new babysitters or professional rescuers, our number one priority is our personal safety.
Hmm.
Number one. In fact, OSHA says that the people who die on the job, 62% of people who die on the job are would-be rescuers. These are people who recognized that something was wrong and then rushed in there and then became a victim themselves.
Hmm.
So we need to start training our minds and our brains to be more aware of the
Yeah.
situations at hand. What's going on?
Hmm.
What's the potential? Um, when you have these gut feelings too, and I know there's really not a training manual for this,
Right.
but understanding those instincts and behavior, I think when speaking with other moms, um, I think we talk about this as mother's intuition. Well,
Hmm.
really, anyone can have this, whether
Yeah.
you're a mother, a father, or not even a parent at all. But if you're in a situation in a crowded area or a space, and you just don't feel comfortable, or you've got those vibes,
Hmm.
I always encourage people to listen to that inner gut feeling.
Right.
And it may be nothing, and that's the best case scenario. And nine
Right.
times out of 10, it's nothing, or maybe even more than that. Statistically, our chances of being involved in an active shooter situation is actually relatively low. And I don't want to say, well, you're more involved, more likely to be involved in a heart attack situation or know someone who's had a heart attack. And
Hmm.
I don't want to play one scenario for another,
Right.
but we don't need to be paranoid. We don't need to worry, but we need to be aware,
Right.
and we need to be comfortable enough to remove ourselves from situations when we feel like there's a problem, whether it's people raising their voices, or you just feel uncomfortable about a situation. It's okay. It's okay to leave.
Right.
Yeah.
It sounds like that is probably some really great advice for anybody thinking about um, being in those situations is not only your safety is the number one priority, but it's not about being paranoid or being worried. It's just about being aware, like you said, knowing what you're getting yourself into. So you probably have that kind of down to a science now. When you walk into rooms,
Oh,
it just, I bet it just happens automatically. And
I have,
yeah.
okay. And so this is into another caveat, another layer of what I do. Another favorite thing of what I like to do. It's like hide and seek or find Waldo, and here it is. Sometimes I have the opportunity where I am called upon, where a company will say, I would like you to walk through my facility and I want you to point out all the safety things or maybe concerns, or I don't want to really call them issues, but anything that you see.
Mhm.
And I want you to take a picture of it and I want you to put it in a report where I do it in a PowerPoint presentation where I take a picture of the violation and then I say, here's the standard or the code of federal regulation that you've violated.
Mhm.
And then here's your potential fine that you would get. And then here's a recommendation, like fix this
Right.
picture and this is how. So I do a pictured report, but for me, when I'm going through that safety walkthrough is what I call it. It's fun for me. I know it's not fun for the customer. At the end, the
Right.
customer is all like, and I try to forewarn them. It's like someone coming into your home and picking out every single dust bunny,
Yeah.
hairball, dirty dish, and then looking in your refrigerator and freezer and
Yeah.
just like every piece of your personal business there. And so
Right.
sometimes they feel a little overwhelmed
Yeah.
but in the end, a pictured report says 1,000 words,
Yeah.
and it is just a snapshot in time. Uh,
Hmm.
but it's working in good faith. That customer, that client wants to identify hazards in the
Hmm.
workplace and train their management, fix the issues one by one slide at a time.
Right.
And I call this term, and I think other safety professionals call this term, having a critical eye.
Hmm.
So when you see something, you can't unsee it.
Right.
Kind of like online dating and the red flag. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's there and it doesn't go away. And
Right.
um, so that's having the critical eye. So yeah, I go into many businesses. I teach throughout our state and in some cases throughout the country.
Hmm.
And yes, I do see a lot of stuff. And my one side of my safety mind says, if you see something, say something,
Hmm.
right? Like
Yep.
if you're seeing a worker working unsafe that might cost his life,
Hmm.
say something, speak up. We have that responsibility for everyone, to go
Hmm.
home safe at the end of the day. That's the old cliche, the safety, everyone goes home safe. But that's real. We got to speak up. But
Yeah.
then on the other hand, I'm walking through and I see like an extension cord that maybe is missing its ground prong or whatever, or exposed wiring on the extension cord. And I'm like, oh, my hands are withering like this. And then I look over there and I see something else and I'm like, oh, but I like to speak up, that's in my personality. And I say, hey, I think there's some opportunities maybe for us to work together. And this is why. Sometimes that's taken well. And of course, other times people feel like safety costs them money.
Yeah.
That safety just prohibits them to work. We do all this safety stuff. How are we supposed to work? Well, with all your digits, your eyes, your
Right.
limbs, your health, at the end of the workday, you're able
Right.
to breathe, that sort of thing. That's kind of important, a
Just a little bit. Yeah.
little bit. Yeah. I love teaching for college students. I ask my college students, and maybe this is unfair, but maybe it's a little wrong, I don't know. But I'll often say, hey, if I was hiring, let's just say, let's say that I was hiring $500 an hour. Out of anybody here, would anybody be interested in getting into safety? $500 an hour, and I have hands that come up, ooh, I like safety. Safety's fun. And I'm like, but here's the deal. You have to die at the end of the day. And then some people, look at me like, what? Like, what did you say? And then I have other students that are like, so how many hours we working today? And I'm like, no, back it up. This opens this conversation to say that every single day people go to work and they may not make $500 an hour, but they take the risk.
Right.
They work, maybe $100 an hour and take a risk, jump into an excavation or
Yeah.
a confined space without, doing the measures to make sure it's safe for you to be there. We have a lot of employers, again, that really feel like safety costs them money. And in reality, when you have a really poor safety program and you have a lot of accidents, injuries, and hopefully never fatalities,
Right.
that can cost, one federal OSHA citation can cost a company $15,625 per day for a
Wow.
failure to abate violation or citation. A failure to abate is a failure to remove
Mm-hmm.
a safety violation in the workplace. So I don't know how many businesses could really afford, let's just talk about it, these violations. And then if it's a willful and repeated violation, now we're talking about $100,000 or $144,000 per day until it's corrected or abated, removed. So some people are motivated by money,
Right.
Katrina, and some people are motivated because they truly care about the people that work for them.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that people that don't like safety don't like their people, but if we really had an opportunity to talk, I think that there would be a greater understanding the need
Mhm.
to have trained people, before something happens.
Right. This has been so informative, and I'm so grateful that you spent this time with me today. I don't personally think I have too many safety needs. My biggest concern on a daily basis is a paper cut, probably. But I do appreciate all of this information, and I would be interested in learning more about kind of that CPR safety training. So we'll have to get in touch. Really, thank you so much for your time today. This has been great.
You know, Katrina, I just really appreciate this opportunity. And I realize if you're not running a construction company or have a mass load of employees at your warehouse
Mhm.
that need a specific type of training, this opportunity today to meet with you and to talk to you about the different aspects of safety is just huge. And I appreciate the opportunity. And I really do look forward to getting to know you better. I know that we run in some of the same
Mhm.
gangs, if you will, if that's what you
Yep.
call it, those women supporting groups.
Yep.
And I do appreciate this opportunity to just talk about it. This does huge leaps and bounds for the safety world, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. So if anybody's watching and they have a need for safety training, Tracy is your girl. You need to reach out to her. And if you're watching and you're interested in having your small business featured on my 517 Follow Friday series, you can send me an email at katrina@cornerstonelegalpllc.com. Thanks for watching.